Redditors who were raised in cults, when was the first time you realized something was wrong? After watching The Day After in the 80s. I asked my mom if we knew the nukes were coming. Who would she rather spend her last moments with, me or the cult leader? She'd choose him. I came up with my own survival plan after that. I was going to skateboard to safety. Edit. Punctuation. Wow. First post to ever blow up in awards. Do I get entry to secret Reddit now? Not in a cult per se. But was in one of those evangelical megachurches. Started as a nice corner church. The piety was genuine. I don't think that the pastor planned the whole thing. He seemed a genuine preacher until the church grew exponentially. Went from a few hundred members to 15,000 in less than 2 years. Then his main focus was entertaining the masses, which drove him to do stupid things. Many weird things started happening. Especially, one day he had a revelation that the congregation needs to expand further and members have to, I am serious, give out all the gold they were wearing. I know a lady that got into serious trouble with her husband because she gave away her gold wedding band. My last straw was when he promoted himself to apostle and renamed himself Paul. Apostle Paul. Okay. When it came time for me to leave for my own mental health, I became the villain, and when confiding in my college tutor, she was horrified to learn even a fraction of what I had grown up with. She was the main encouragement I needed to GTFO when I did. When the elders told me that I could no longer speak to my younger sister anymore because she was in bad standing with the organization. She's the only family I have left. They made her out to be this monster just because she wasn't actively going to church. That's when the glass shattered for me. When I realized that the doors to the 13-story former hotel building we were all living in was locked and you had to sign out to leave. No one, from children to adults, could leave without an explanation to where they were going and when they'd be back. Edit. Group operated under 2 names. IBLP, Institute for Basic Life Principles. This was their outreach label where they would go to churches and show this seminar to bring new, gullible people into the fold. ATI, Advanced Training Institute, was for the people that actually wanted in deep and consisted of an entire homeschool curriculum to make sure your kids got brainwashed correctly. Pretty in-depth, interesting article written about the whole thing. https www.chicago-magazine/chicago-magazine/july-2016/institute-in-basic-life-principles-hinsdale/. They masqueraded as just another Baptist sect, but it went way deeper. My family was highly involved for years, but the year we lived at their training center was actually horrifying. Strictly controlled what was allowed in, out. Surveillance for everything. Sad part is most of the families that lived there were essentially slave labor that worked for the ministry and were given free room and board. Many of them had nowhere else to go and were trapped even if they wanted to leave. I was 12 years old and my classmate from school died in a car accident. We were as close of friends as I was allowed to be with someone who wasn't in the cult. I asked my mom if I would see my friend in paradise, afterlife, and she said no because her parents weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Then and now. I couldn't believe that an innocent 12-year-old wouldn't get a shot at everlasting life because of her parents. It was definitely the biggest crack in my ideology that only grew as I got into my teen years. What's the movie so bad that it killed off the whole franchise? Disney's The Lone Ranger and John Carter were both supposed to be the first of a series. Like Pirates of the Caribbean. The Last Airbender. I'm guessing by the ending they had elaborate plans to turn this into a franchise of all the seasons. Wow. So horribly bad. Also, prior to the movie I had never even watched an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I had an even greater appreciation of how bad they fucked up after watching them all during the pandemic. Ouch. The Inkheart book series was fantastic. I was very dissatisfied in the movie. The only shining light being Brendan Fraser as the main guy. Any of these movies could have easily kick-started a whole successful franchise if they hadn't fucked up the opening entry so badly. Aragon. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Artemis Fowl. Green Lantern. They had big plans for sequels and a wide story arc, but because the movie bombed at the box office, all of that was scrapped. I heard there were plans for a Stephen King cinematic universe of some sort. But given how badly The Dark Tower did, that's probably never going to happen now. What's the most unprofessional thing a doctor has ever said to you? I had a very rare complication of the flu and my nerves were getting eaten away by my immune system. I could barely walk and was numb from the waist down. By the time I was transferred to a hospital that could treat me, it was close to midnight and the doctor that admitted me was very young. I was the first person he'd seen with this condition. He kept saying how cool it was to do a neuro exam on someone who wasn't an actor, and when he would see how weak I was he'd be like, "Oh wow. You really are weaker on that side. That's so interesting." To be fair, after 12 hours of everyone talking to me like I was going to die, I found it quite entertaining. It was unprofessional, but I appreciated his enthusiasm for learning. ETA. Yes, it was GBS, and as of today, May 10, 2021, I am not dead. Thanks for checking though. Doctor here, and I really hate to admit this. Very early in my career I was talking to a male patient. I had to ask him about penile discharge and I just couldn't remember what the professional way to ask was. Do I say dick? No. That's not right. Come on. Think, damn it. You're a doctor now. Wait. There's been too long of a silence. Dong. I went with dong. Never expected this to take off. Love all the comments and conversations thus far. And to all of those asking, yes, penis would have been the word of choice, but it slipped my mind. Hence the dong. One time I went in for a general checkup and my doctor said, "Well, everything is fine with you. Except for that haircut." For a routine exam, the doctor insisted that his young nurse take my temperature rectally, not orally, much to her embarrassment as she inserted the probe. As I once described, he claimed that the rectal reading was more accurate. But for a routine checkup, it's hard to see the benefit of this relative to the embarrassment it causes. Note. I love this doctor, he just doesn't fuck around. Me. How do I prevent these back spasms from ever happening again? This is awful? Doc. You're old and fat. You can't be younger, so be less fat. Thanks. Doc. A doctor told my husband, I can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit, in regards to a finger injury he had. He wanted to cut the whole tip off. We convinced him to just put a couple stitches in it. It's actually quite amazing how well it healed. What's a movie you can watch several times and still genuinely not understand at all? Mulholland Drive and/or Lost Highway. Basically anything from David Lynch. Zardoz. https www.imdb.com/title/TT0070948/ ref_equals FN_al_TT_1. The first time I saw this, it was on the Space Channel. Think Canadian version of Sci-Fi Channel. The movie was strange and confusing, and I was not sure what the hell the point of the story was. But I was only half paying attention. I thought the name was cool and it stuck with me. The second time I watched it, I had seen the DVD and thought, why not? I put the disc in the player and watched it start to end. I missed nothing. I still had no idea what the hell the point of the movie was. I also watched the commentary track. The director admits that some parts of the movie were ambitious. Perhaps too ambitious. I could tell you today most of what happens in that film. I know that the story has something to do with an immortal ruling class that no longer has sex and a less civilized cast of brutals. There is much interest in Sean Connery's ability to get an erection. A revolt happens, and the corrupt immortals fall from power. I still cannot tell you what the unholy fuck the movie is about in a narrative sense though. End communication. Tinker. Tailor. Soldier. Spy. I'm going to watch it with a notepad next time and write shit down so I can keep track. Birdemic. Watched it twice and I don't know why. 2001. A Space Odyssey.
Subscribe, my brothers.